I'm going to start the recording of it just so that we can post it on our website. So Bruce, if you have friends you want to share this, the info session to, this will be posted on our website. And feel free to ask questions on the chat if needed. We'll have a time at the end of the session for Q&A. And I'll keep it.
Comments, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. No worries. So then, again, I'm Irene. I'm the Global Program Specialist in the Global Office. I work with getting all the Paris courses together, like pre-departure information, organization on this end, and I work with our Paris team to get everything ready for the courses. And then I'll have Dr. Bader and Dr. Ukudurova to introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and start the slideshow.
Sure. Hi, my name is Graham Bader. I'm professor of art history, chair of the art history department right now. And I'm a specialist in 20th century European and American art. So, you know, this course reaches back into the late 19th century, where sort of my expertise goes as well. We'll be looking at a lot of art, visiting museums, as part of this course, but of course, thinking about broader cultural questions through art objects. So that's sort of in my wheelhouse.
Hi, I'm Lida Okadarova, and I'm an associate professor also in the Department of Art History. So I teach courses primarily, or actually only, in film history, covering European cinema, but also global cinema. And I think I'm especially interested. One of the classes that I have been teaching here for 10 years or so is called Cinema in the City, that explores relations between film and architecture, film and urban planning. And so some of the central issues that, for instance, are examined in that class is the development, generally relationship between film and urban histories, but more specifically, the development of modern vision and modern forms of habitations as they are presented in these urban films, and also how specific social historical events and conflicts are manifested in these urban films. So Paris has been central to that class, and I have written about it. So we will watch quite a few films in this class and look again into urban history as it is reflected both in the films, in films, but also back in the city itself.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and start the slideshow, and then we can go a little bit more in depth about the course itself. So, and then the program details. So let me share my screen. Again, this is for Making Modernity in the Streets of Paris, Art, Film, Architecture. This is Paris Session 3, which is from June 3rd through the 21st of summer 2024. The course specific details is it is a 6-credit-hour course. The class is open for all Rice undergraduate students. There's no prerequisites, but specifically it'll appeal to anyone who wants to learn about modern European art, film, and architecture, and is interested in exploring Paris as a laboratory for such learning. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to Graham and Lida to just talk a little bit more about what we just started talking about, and then here's some images that are related to the course, and maybe you all want to discuss about that a little bit more in detail.
Sure, I can start by just saying the second part of that, you know, who is this class for? Interested in exploring Paris as a laboratory for such learning is really what drove us as we started to formulate this course. This is a new course designed to be taught in Paris. So, and, you know, we're still in the process of constructing the syllabus, but when we think about sessions, in each case, we're thinking about topics that where sort of modern art, modern culture, controversies in modern culture, you know, were activated or took part in, as the course title says, the streets of Paris. So we're going to start by looking at the redesign of Paris you see in the upper right corner, by Baron Haussmann, a process known as Haussmannization, which led to the creation of these grand boulevards in Paris through the destruction of older neighborhoods, and also was tied in with sort of new forms of urban experience related to what Professor Khodorova was talking about, the emergence of the modern department store at that same time, which was sort of wrapped up with this redesign of the city and led to new sort of forums and new frameworks for experiencing culture. So that's like an early session we're going to be thinking about how this redesign of the city was tied into new formulations of cultural experience and cultural meaning. And you can see right below that aerial view, this impressionist painting where you have these sort of, well-to-do gentlemen out on their balcony in what was at that point a brand new neighborhood looking out over the city. And so the impressionist painting dealt a lot with this process. And so we'll be going into the museums and looking at those works. Just, looking at some of the other images we have here, you can see the Paris 1937 poster down below. That was a World's Fair, of course, right on the eve of the Second World War. That was a World's Fair where Picasso's Guernica was shown for the first time, rather. He painted it for that show. There's iconic sort of photographs right from that view. We're looking where you have the pavilions in this grand exposition of the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany facing off against each other. And so this was a World's Fair where you had this mix of culture and politics, again, in the streets of Paris, what I want to say, really distilling these cultural tensions at the time. The two images on the sides of those, one is a housing block designed in the 1980s, and we're going to also look at more modern neighborhoods in the context of issues of immigration and sort of, France's and Paris's sort of form and makeup in the wake of decolonization. And we'll be exploring that partly through some really great films that engage this topic. Maybe I'll hand it off to you, Lida.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I can add right to that last issue, colonial and post-colonial history of France. It will play sort of a significant role throughout the class, even from the late 19th century material that Graham has already described. We will talk about how film and art both contributed to sort of the rising and consolidation of French imperial consciousness. Filmmakers, for instance, constantly went to their colonies and brought these films back to the French audience to, again, celebrate their own civilization, in quotation mark, by comparison to, the lands that they began to explore. So we will look also at the exhibition, at early exhibitions that the French capital initiated to show French colonies to Parisians and to basically, again, consolidate their power, their global power in relationship to the rest of the world. But also how artists and filmmakers slowly started to contest that narrative of the French Empire and the French civilization. And that becomes particularly important then, of course, in the second half of the 20th century, which will be the last part of our class, where France, you might know, was involved in pretty bloody colonial wars, and then had a pretty, and still has a pretty difficult sort of history and process in terms of how it's dealing with its past. So we will watch films where they engage the spaces of the sort that you see in this low left corner image. And also in many ways a traumatic history for people from other nations who reside today in Paris. So we will examine it all through both film and art, and specifically through museum exhibitions, but also memorial sites in the city itself.
And debates about, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and also debates around museological display and construction. How should France sort of display this objects from this colonial past? Can I jump in, Lida?
Yeah, please.
So Yeah, and what I wanted to say as we're describing these various topics is it's a lot of things that we're throwing out, but the course is envisioned as a series of kind of focused case studies of specific instances where we see, again, a key moment or a key debate in sort of early industrial modernity, the rise again of, factory, of modern factories, the modern railroad, the redesign of cities such as we see here. We're going to sort of dive into that moment. Then we're going to look at the early 20th century, certain, again, focus topics around sort of artists and where artists are working in the city, how artists are exploring the city. And then after the Second World War up to the present, really, we're going to be looking at then this sort of aftermath of the Second World War and then this process of decolonization. We're going to be doing this through a set of real detailed case studies where we'll be in the classroom in the morning, talking, engaging with readings, and then we'll be out in the city every day, really. Probably the majority of the class are going to be out and about, visiting museums, visiting neighborhoods, visiting built sites. And the work that students will do will be active work, engaging with the city, presenting on works of art, buildings, neighborhoods, sort of urban construction projects, and sort of the politics that are contained in some of those, short response papers to readings and to experiences and sites in the city. And so the course is really thought of as, again, an on the ground, active, participatory class where with each session, we're not just reading and discussing, but we're at the place, we're looking at the work, we're dealing with the site that this film or this essay or, this novel is thinking about.
Yeah, and so we're thinking, basically it's a 6-hour course, which I guess translates in about 5-hour class 5-hour class time. But we're thinking it could be something like 10 to 4 with a lunch break in the middle, where again the class discussion organically transforms into specific site visits and discussions on the ground there.
And we're thinking of the sort of work that students will do outside of class, obviously some reading and some writing, but also sort of assignments that are active assignments in the city to go, to this place, to go look at this art, prepare to present this or to tell us this history or to lead us through this place. And so, throughout the course, both in terms of what we're covering, but also the way the assignments are structured. Yeah, just to go back to where I began, this idea of Paris as a laboratory for learning is really what is the meat of the class.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And really, when we are developing courses in Paris, that is one of the biggest goals is how to leverage the city and how to take advantage of being in Paris itself, now that we have this amazing Paris campus. Is there anything else you want to talk about aside from regarding the course, or should I keep going on the presentation about the program itself?
I mean, let us ask you, Bruce. I know you're in a rough spot there. I don't know if you want to use the chat. Are there any specific questions you have? I see there is another chat comment. Oh,
No,
yeah. Yeah, no, there's so Bruce, if there's anything you want us to sort of turn to specifically, throw it out at us in the chat, but otherwise I think we can.
There's a question. Could a student participate in RISE global program and then also study abroad? Irene, maybe you could answer this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing study abroad at the same time as the RGP program, that probably could conflict because you're going to be spending full days with this course in particular. So you wouldn't be able to do it at the same time, but we have had students that had a program that ended right before Rise Global Paris session started. So they were actually in another location in Paris, not in Paris, in France. And then they went on to Paris when the program started. So you can't do it simultaneously, like at the same time, but it can be like going before or after. And then if you're going to do it during the semester, if you're doing studying abroad during the semester, it won't conflict or affect at all. Like there's no restrictions in being able to take part in both aspects of it.
I mean, when I hear that question,
Okay.
it makes
Wait, I
also.
think there's a question correction there. I meant
Student abroad is separate year or study abroad. I mean, you have to check with your department just to make sure about any study abroad programs, but it as far as Rice Global Pairs, it shouldn't conflict with anything with study abroad. I think it'll depend on your end as far as like what funding is needed, that kind of questions, and then to make sure with your, advisor to make sure that there's no issues academically. I would check on that with your advisor themselves. But there's no issue with doing both programs if you want to do them during the time at Rice.
Yeah, and I wanted to say just intellectually and academically, it seems to me like to do a course like this in the summer and then do study abroad later. I mean, if it's in Paris or not, I think actually this could plant really great seeds that could be productive then when you do a study abroad program, because you'll have sort of thought about a place intellectually and through sort of a cultural historical lens with us and with our group. And so if you're in Paris, you're going to have this knowledge and mode of thinking about the city. If you're not in Paris, if you're somewhere else, because we're really going to be thinking a lot about urban history and how cities are sites and mediators of culture, wherever you are, be it Rome or Berlin or Marseille, hopefully what you've learned in this class is going to kind of, I don't know, inform the way that you think about wherever you might end up studying. So
Yeah. Okay, so then just about the program itself. Again, the date is a 3-week intensive, basically, since it's a 6-credit-hour course. So it's from June 3rd through the 21st. Move into the residence is on June 2nd. So that's the earliest that you can arrive, and then checkout will be June 22nd. However, that doesn't, if you want to come to Paris earlier, you're welcome to find like an Airbnb or hotel room if you want to explore prior to the program or after. But as far as the residences for the program itself, those are the dates that we have available. The class itself will take place at the Rice Global Paris Center. But again, like Professor Bader and Ukudorova have said already, it'll be partly in the classroom and partly in the city. So it's going to be very interactive. So you really will be able to explore Paris. It's open to any Rice undergraduates, no prerequisites required. The program cost itself is $1,200 per credit hour. And since it's a 6-credit-hour course, it's $7,200 for tuition. Plus, you have to think about the cost for your travel to Paris and living expenses for 3 weeks. What is covered is housing for all 3 weeks. Any local travel, so we'll be providing the funds, or have a card for you to travel from the residences to the center and throughout any excursions that are for like course related excursions, and tickets are all covered by the program. We will have 3 group meals and travel insurance. And like I mentioned earlier, what's not covered is the airfare to Paris. If you have to get a passport or a visa, those fees will have to be covered by you. To and from the airport rides, anything that's non-course related travel excursions, just like if you want to do things on your own, that has to be covered by yourself. Your phone plans, and most meals and incidentals. However, there is the option for financial aid. The way that we do this is, if you get accepted into the course, in the application form, there's a section asking about financial aid. And if you will be needing financial aid, or you currently have financial aid, just indicate that on the form. And then if you get accepted to the course, we work directly with the financial aid office, and they let us know what is available as far as aid for you. And then we indicate that in the award letter. So summer tuition does qualify for some assistance, but it is dependent on the student. So we will be able to let you know that if you get accepted, you're also welcome to contact the financial aid office, because they can let you know prior to that to see how much aid is available for you. But that is something that we provide in our award letter. As far as tuition assistance, Rice Global itself can provide further tuition assistance. Again, if you indicate that in your application, that's something that then we, as we're making decisions on who's going to get in the course, we'll notify you on what you have been awarded or what can be provided for you when you get accepted. Just make sure to indicate that in your application. And as far as student housing, I just wanted to show you guys some slides about that. We do have 3 different residences in Paris where students will be at for these Paris sessions. Each residence has their own individual fully furnished apartments. So you would have your own apartment that has their own full bathroom with a shower, kitchen area, which has a little stove. We have microwave and a fridge. We provide utensils and plates. Each apartment has their own table or a desk with a chair, and obviously bed with linen and pillows. And we also provide towels for your stay. There's a shared washer and dryer. So it's in the residence itself. You don't have to pay to use it. You just would have to provide your own detergent. And then a private, all residents have a courtyard or a garden space. So there's always an outdoor area for you to go study or do something after class. And then just to show you guys how far the classroom commute is from each of the residences, all residents are kind of near each other, and they're all about a 30-minute journey to get to the Rice Global Paris Center. The residences are located in the 13th arrondissement. And if you see Paris, they're all these different arrondissements that are in spiral shape. So the residences are on the 13th, and then Rice Global Paris Center is on the 4th. I stayed at one of these places, and it was literally just a quick walk to the metro, and then about 7 stops to get to the center, and then a quick walk to the center. And you'll feel very Parisian walking around, taking the metro, because that's how they all get around over there. It's very different from Texas, where we take cars. I really enjoyed it personally. And then just what I was talking about, the arrondissements, this is the 13th. This is where all the residents are at. And then Rice Global Paris Center is here on the 4th. So as you can see, they're pretty close by. But what's nice about the neighborhood the residence is at is that it's very safe and quiet compared to where the Rice Global Paris Center is located, which is in the Marais, which is a very hopping, cool area. There's a lot of shopping and a lot of restaurants there. So it's nice that you'll get to experience these 2 different neighborhoods while you're there. But the residences are lovely just because it's such a safe and quiet area. There are supermarkets within walking distance, coffee shops, everything that you could need nearby. And just the Rice Global Paris Center. Here's some pictures. It is in the, like I said, the Marais. It's a very cool area to have the center at, but when you go in, it feels like a completely different location because it's this historic building, as opposed to like the outside where it's like all these shopping area. People are all over the place. It's a great location. We have our own private courtyard, so if you do end up being in the classroom and want to maybe do some time outside, you can do that there. But like Dr. Bader and Ukadoroba said earlier, a lot of the time will be outside in the city. So it'll be a nice place to have classroom time, but I'm glad you guys will get to explore as well. And then just how to apply. You can follow the link here. I'll go ahead and open up the web page soon, but it takes you to the landing page of all the courses offered, and you just have to find this course. and click on it. The deadline to apply is January 26th. So there's still some time. And then students will be notified about acceptance on February 5th. So that gives you time. We'll let you know about any financial aid available, and you can make your decision at that point for the course itself. And then just to show you what the website looks like. So that link takes you to our landing page. And as you can see, it shows the different courses offered. And this will be session 2. Yeah. Oh, no.
No, we're session 3.
Session 3. Yeah. Here it is. And so you just want to go ahead and click on the link, and it takes you to the actual page, which gives all the information we just talked about is listed on here. And then if you do have any questions, you can request information. This will send an email to the Paris Center email, which I monitor, and I'll be happy to answer. If there's any course specific questions, I will send it along to Graham and Lita. And then once you are ready to apply, you can just click apply now. It takes you to the application, and like I mentioned before, if you do want to, you do need financial aid, go ahead and indicate that here. And again, once you're accepted, we can give you all that information. But if there's any questions, just go ahead and send an email to us, and I'll be happy to answer. I'll put the email on the chat. Is pariscenter@rice.edu. And yeah, so I don't know, Bruce, if you have any other questions, let us know. Or if you think of anything else, feel free to email us. And Lita and Graham, I don't know if you want to mention anything else or.
I don't know. I mean, we're super excited for this class. I think for both of us, we're excited to sort of explore Paris through the lens of, the class and these different topics we'll be exploring. And we're super excited to do that with a group of students. So.
Yeah, I've said this before, I would love to take that course, or if I could. But I wish. But I'm excited for you all. And I'll be posting this recording. So Bruce, if you have friends and you want to share the link to the info session, just send them to that landing webpage, and just send us any questions if you think of anything. So thank you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording right now. And then if you guys are